Security Officer Harlan Voss blocks a well-dressed black woman at a federal building entrance. Your kind has no place in this building. One word from me, and I could make you disappear. The woman remains motionless, her expression unreadable as she reaches into her purse. She produces an identification card, extending it with steady fingers. Harlan Voss snatches it, studies it for a second, then tosses it to the floor with a smirk. "Pick it up," he commands, watching as she slowly bends to retrieve her ID. "I don't care what fake ID you have. This is a secure federal facility." He gestures to a small table beside the security checkpoint. "Empty your purse. Everything." He glances dismissively at other employees, all white, who stream past without inspection. She methodically removes each item, arranging them with precise movements, while Harlan Voss hovers, scrutinizing every object with exaggerated suspicion. As she carefully repacks her belongings, she looks directly into Harlan Voss's eyes. "Do you know who I am?" she asks, her voice quiet but clear. Harlan Voss laughs, a harsh sound that echoes through the lobby. Just another nobody trying to be somebody. Little does he know, she's about to become his worst nightmare. Serena Hayes steps through the revolving doors of the Philadelphia FBI field office. The newly appointed director has chosen business casual attire, charcoal slacks, and a navy blouse, deliberately understated. Today isn't about flashing credentials or pulling rank. It's about seeing operations as they truly function when leadership isn't expected. Officer Harlan Voss stands at his post, 15 years of security service hanging from his belt in the form of an over-polished badge. His eyes track Serena the moment she enters, narrowing slightly as she approaches. This isn't his first encounter with someone who doesn't fit his mental image of who belongs. "ID and purpose of visit," he demands, without the courtesy of eye contact. Harlan Voss's mind races with assumptions. What's she doing here without an escort? Probably lost. Maybe cleaning staff who doesn't know which entrance to use? A quick series of flashes, memory fragments from Harlan Voss's personnel file that will later surface. 3 complaints of excessive screening dismissed. 1 formal grievance mysteriously deleted from the system. A pattern systematic and undeniable. To Harlan Voss's right, a white businessman approaches security. "Morning, Jim," Harlan Voss calls, waving him through with a cursory glance at his badge. "How's that golf swing coming along?" A white woman follows, her purse uninspected, as Harlan Voss buzzes her through with a smile. "Have a good one, Ms. Roberts." He turns back to Serena, his expression hardening. He beckons to his partner at the adjacent station. "Hey, Blaine, got another one trying to slip through," he says. Just loud enough for Serena to hear. Probably cleaning staff who doesn't know her place. Blaine glances up, a flicker of discomfort crossing his features before he shrugs non-committally. Harlan Voss slides Serena's ID back across the counter. As she reaches for it, he deliberately lets it fall to the floor between them. His eyes lock with hers, challenging, expectant. As Serena bends to retrieve her ID, Harlan Voss doesn't realize he's just committed career suicide. Serena rises slowly, ID card pinched between her fingers. Her movements are deliberate, dignified, each second stretched taut with unspoken tension. She meets Harlan Voss's gaze, her expression revealing nothing of the calculated assessment happening behind her eyes. "May I have your name and badge number, please?" Her voice carries the quiet authority of someone accustomed to being heard the first time. Harlan Voss scoffs, his hand moving to cover his identification badge. "Why?" "So you can file a complaint that'll never be read." The fluorescent lights catch the sweat beading along his hairline, despite the building's aggressive air conditioning. Blaine shifts his weight from one foot to another, eyes darting between Serena and his partner. His discomfort is palpable, but his silence is complicity distilled to its essence. "I have an appointment," Serena states, no defensiveness in her tone, just simple fact. "With who?" Harlan Voss demands, reaching for the desk phone. He deliberately misspells her name as he calls, watching her with performative suspicion. "No Serena Hayes on today's list," he announces after a cursory conversation. "No appointment exists." "Check again," Serena suggests. "Perhaps under Director Hayes." Harlan Voss's laugh comes too quickly, too loudly. "Listen, there's no appointment. You need to leave now, or I'll have you removed for trespassing." He signals to the growing curiosity of passers-by. He reaches for the desk phone again, but pauses, savoring the power dynamic. His hand drifts toward his weapon, an unconscious tell of escalation. From across the lobby, a young analyst named LaShonda looks up from a file, recognition dawning across their face. A memo circulated last week. Director Hayes conducting surprise inspections throughout the month. LaShonda takes a half step forward, then hesitates, mentally calculating personal risk against moral obligation. "I'm not leaving," Serena says, her voice leveled despite Harlan Voss's growing agitation. Harlan Voss's stride purposeful, his radio already in his hand. "We'll see about that. You have exactly 5 seconds to step aside, or I promise you'll regret ever putting on that badge. Security backup to main entrance." Belligerent trespasser refusing to comply. Harlan Voss's voice crackles through the radio, his eyes never leaving Serena's face. He gestures toward a hard plastic chair positioned against the wall. "Sit now." Serena evaluates her options with clinical precision. Creating a scene serves no purpose. Documenting this encounter serves many. She takes the seat, back straight, hands folded in her lap, as curious eyes turn toward the unfolding spectacle. Attempting to infiltrate a federal building, Harlan Voss announces loudly for the benefit of passing employees. Claims to have an appointment that doesn't exist. Blaine approaches, lowering his voice. "Maybe we should run her credentials more thoroughly. Check the database again." "Back to your post," Harlan Voss snaps. "I've got this handled." Serena notes the exact time on the lobby clock. Harlan Voss makes her wait. He processes 17 other visitors during this period. 15 white, 2 Asian, all with minimal screening, all while she sits in public view like a cautionary exhibit. "Stand up," Harlan Voss finally commands, retrieving latex gloves from his station with theatrical slowness. Enhanced security check. Serena rises, maintaining neutral eye contact as Harlan Voss circles her. "Remove your jacket. Shoes, too." His voice carries just enough for nearby visitors to turn and stare. People like you are known to conceal items. People like you. The phrase hangs in the air, heavy with implication. Serena complies, cataloging each violation, each witness, each camera angle, with methodical precision, arms out. Harlan Voss's gloved hands move along her sides, lingering inappropriately at her ribs. "Standard procedure," he adds with a smirk that suggests otherwise. A rustle of movement breaks the tension. LaShonda approaches carrying a paper cup of water, extending it towards Serena with nervous determination. "Thought you might need this?" LaShonda says, leaning in to whisper. "I know who you are." Serena accepts the water with a subtle shake of her head. "Stand down," her eyes communicating what her position cannot. Harlan Voss intercepts, knocking the cup from Serena's hand. Water splashes across the polished floor. "You don't interact with suspects," he barks at LaShonda. "Return to your workspace, or I'll report you for interfering with security protocol. Throughout the humiliation, Serena's gaze systematically catalogs faces, name badges, witnesses, the security camera in the northeast corner, the timestamp on the digital display, the receptionist averting her eyes in shame. She isn't just enduring this moment. She's preserving it, preparing it for the record. "Put your shoes back on," Harlan Voss finally says slowly. As Harlan Voss turns to retrieve his radio, it crackles to life with his supervisor's urgent voice. "Harlan Voss, report to Station 2 for package inspection." The radio falls silent, leaving Harlan Voss visibly annoyed at the interruption. "Don't move," he orders Serena before stalking away. In his absence, Serena makes her move, not from panic or desperation, but with the calculated precision of someone accustomed to contingency planning. She reaches into her jacket pocket, extracting her phone with subtle efficiency. 3 letters comprise her text to her executive assistant. XRY. Nothing more is needed. Protocol established on her first day as director. Across town at FBI headquarters, Assistant Director Kendrick Hale's phone vibrates. Her expression shifts from routine bureaucratic fatigue to sharp focus. She reaches for a secure line, initiating a series of predetermined actions. No questions asked, no confirmation needed. Harlan Voss returns, his stride purposeful. "In here," he directs, gesturing toward a windowless security office. Now the room is small, utilitarian, with a metal desk and 2 chairs bolted to the floor. Harlan Voss closes the door with a deliberate click. "Phone," he demands, palm outstretched, security procedure. Serena surrenders the device, already having sent what was necessary. Harlan Voss places it in a metal drawer, locking it with theatrical emphasis. "You know," he says, his voice dropping to a confidential register as he leans against the desk. "People who don't belong disappear all the time in our system. Paperwork gets lost, access gets denied." His smile doesn't reach his eyes. "No one would even look for someone like you." He reaches for the desk phone, but pauses, savoring the moment. When Harlan Voss exits to retrieve forms, Serena's gaze immediately locates the security camera in the upper corner. She positions herself precisely in its view, facing the lens directly. Officer Harlan Voss has threatened that people who don't belong disappear all the time, she states clearly, reciting his exact words for the record. He further stated, "No one would even look for someone like you while confiscating my personal property and detaining me without cause." Her eyes catch the landline phone on the desk. She lifts the receiver, dialing a number from memory. "Authentication code 8736 Delta," she states when the line connects. "Silent protocol, field office, Philadelphia, security desk, no intervention." She replaces the receiver just as Harlan Voss's footsteps approach. The scene splits. Serena sitting composed in the barren room while across the city, her executive team mobilizes with practiced efficiency. Assistant Director Kendrick Hale notifies Deputy Director Preston Lyle, who accesses the security feed. Within minutes, 16 senior FBI officials are watching Harlan Voss's every action in real time, recording every word, every gesture. Preston Lyle's finger hovers over the intervention button, then withdraws. He recognizes Serena's strategy. She's not just experiencing discrimination, she's documenting a systemic failure from the inside. "Let it play out," he orders, per the director's instruction. Harlan Voss returns, smiling, unaware that every federal official who could end his career is now watching. Harlan Voss slaps a sheaf of papers onto the metal desk, the sound sharp in the confined space. "Detention documentation," he announces, with bureaucratic satisfaction. "You failed to meet security clearance requirements for this facility." He slides the forms towards Serena, tapping a signature line at the bottom. Sign here. Acknowledges you were denied entry for non-compliance with federal security protocols. Serena scans the document, immediately identifying the waiver of rights buried in the legal language. "I'm not signing this," she states simply. Harlan Voss's jaw tightens momentarily before his features arrange themselves into mock concern. He reaches for his coffee cup, positioned precariously close to the desk's edge with a movement too deliberate to be accidental. His elbow nudges it. Dark liquid splashes across Serena's cream-colored blouse. "Clumsy me," Harlan Voss says, producing a handful of rough paper napkins. "Let me help you with that." Serena accepts the napkins without reaction, dabbing at the spreading stain while maintaining unwavering eye contact. "Thank you," she says, each syllable precisely measured. The door opens. A man in a crisp suit appears, his ID badge identifying him as Office Manager Langford Barrett. "Is there an issue here?" Langford Barrett asks, eyes moving between Harlan Voss and Serena with professional concern. "Security matter?" Harlan Voss replies curtly. "Not your department." "This woman has been detained for quite some time," Langford Barrett persists. "Has her identity been verified through the central database?" Harlan Voss's posture shifts subtly, a predator sensing a challenge to territorial dominance. "Maybe I should review your access credentials, Langford Barrett. See if they're still appropriate." The threat hangs in the air, naked and effective. Langford Barrett's resolve visibly wavers, his gaze dropping. "Just following up on unusual activity reports," he mutters, already retreating. "I'll find you later," Harlan Voss calls after him, the promise unmistakable. At FBI headquarters, the command room buzzes with focused activity. Analysts pull Harlan Voss's personnel file, revealing 17 similar incidents over a 12-year period. Each complaint mysteriously closed without action. Each connected through a labyrinth of bureaucratic misdirection to the same security contractor, FedGuard International. Back in the small room, Harlan Voss turns to Serena. All pretense of professionalism abandoned. Now they're alone. "Your kind always thinks the rules don't apply, always looking for special treatment." His voice drops lower, "But I'm here to make sure everybody gets exactly what they deserve." "You know what happens to troublemakers in custody?" Harlan Voss whispers, leaning too close. "They have accidents." "I need medical attention," Serena announces, one hand pressed against her chest. "My heart is racing. I'd like a witness present." Harlan Voss studies her for signs of deception, his eyes narrowing. Convenient timing. No one's falling for that act. "I'm not acting," Serena responds evenly. "And denying medical care to a detainee is a violation of Section 4.7 of the Federal Security Protocols." Harlan Voss's surprise at her knowledge flickers briefly across his face before his mask of authority returns. "Claiming medical distress to obstruct security procedures," he says, making a show of writing this down. "Possible psychological instability noted." He's creating a paper trail, building his justification brick by careful brick. Serena observes this with the detached interest of someone watching a predictable play unfold exactly as anticipated. The door opens again. Blaine enters, his stride purposeful. "Any update on the verification?" he asks, deliberately not looking at Serena. "Still processing," Harlan Voss responds tersely. "Why don't you make yourself useful and go monitor the east entrance?" Blaine shifts his weight, uncomfortably aware of his choices narrowing. "Look, maybe we should just let her go with a warning. It's been over an hour. Are you questioning my judgment?" Harlan Voss's voice rises. "Calculated public humiliation deployed as a control mechanism. Because I can add insubordination to today's report if that's what you want." Blaine's spine straightens momentarily before collapsing into acquiescence. No, just checking in. Then check out. Harlan Voss dismisses him with a flick of his wrist. As Blaine retreats, Harlan Voss turns his attention to Serena's purse, still on the desk between them. Time for additional screening. He upends the bag, personal items cascading across the metal surface. His fingers sift through her possessions with invasive deliberation. A wallet, keys, a protein bar, a small notebook. At the bottom, a plastic card with the FBI logo catches his attention. Well, he says, holding it up. Fake federal ID. That's a serious offense. The card is clearly marked FBI Athletic Facilities, but Harlan Voss chooses to see only what serves his narrative. Impersonating a federal officer. Now we're getting somewhere. LaShonda appears in the doorway holding a file folder. Sir, I have information regarding... Did I call for you? Harlan Voss cuts them off. One more interruption and you can clean out your desk. Understood. Behind LaShonda, Langford Barrett returns with another man. Assistant Security Director Preston Lyle. Harlan Voss. Preston Lyle says, his tone neutral, but authoritative. What's the status here? Harlan Voss stands straighter, addressing a superior, but maintaining his dominance display. Potential security breach. Subject attempted entry with falsified credentials, then presented a counterfeit FBI identification. I'm preparing charges. Preston Lyle frowns. Have you run her information through NCIC? I know how to do my job, Harlan Voss replies, an edge creeping into his voice. Maybe you should be more concerned about the contractor renewal evaluations coming up next month. I hear my uncle is quite interested in performance reviews this quarter. The implied threat hangs in the air. Preston Lyle's expression hardens, but he steps back, choosing his battle carefully. Keep me updated, he says, retreating with Langford Barrett in tow. Serena notices the security camera's indicator light change from steady red to blinking. Executive override activated. Harlan Voss positions himself at the computer terminal, fingers flying across the keyboard with bureaucratic efficiency. Preparing your removal documentation, he announces, satisfaction evident in the upward curl of his mouth. You'll be blacklisted from all federal facilities permanently. He reaches for the desk phone, dialing with theatrical deliberation. This is Officer Harlan Voss at the Philadelphia Federal Building. I need local police assistance with a trespasser impersonating a federal agent. He recites the address, adding, approach with caution. Subject has shown signs of instability. Blaine appears at the doorway again, determination temporarily overcoming his usual deference. Harlan Voss, I've been checking her credentials more thoroughly. He holds up a printout. There are inconsistencies with your report. The name matches an active federal. Give me that. Harlan Voss interrupts, snatching the paper and scanning it briefly before crumpling it into his pocket. Your security access is temporarily suspended, Blaine. Surrender your badge until the situation is resolved. Blaine hesitates, hand moving protectively toward his identification. Now, Harlan Voss demands, palm outstretched. Or explain to your wife how you lost pension eligibility 6 months before retirement. The threat lands with precision. Blaine slowly unpins his badge. Commander Soundspoon Sans his dadins, placing it in Harlan Voss's waiting hand before retreating. Defeat evident in every line of his body. Now wielding both their authorities, Harlan Voss returns to the computer with renewed vigor. Let's make this official, he announces, typing rapidly while narrating his fabrications aloud. Subject exhibited aggressive behavior when approached, refused to comply with standard security measures, verbally threatened officer when asked for identification. Serena watches him create his alternate reality. Each keystroke digging his professional grave deeper, she decides to use his momentum against him. "Why are you doing this?" she asks, her tone genuinely curious rather than confrontational. Harlan Voss pauses, momentarily thrown by the question's simplicity. "Doing what?" "My job. Treating me differently than the others who entered this building." His fingers hover above the keyboard. "I'm applying proper security protocols to a suspicious individual." "What made me suspicious?" Serena presses gently. "Specifically, experience," Harlan Voss answers, resuming his typing. 15 years at this desk teaches you to recognize who belongs and who doesn't. And I don't belong because... The trap is set with such subtlety that Harlan Voss walks directly into it. People like you always have an agenda, always trying to get where they shouldn't be, demanding special treatment. His typing grows more forceful, punctuating his words. Someone needs to maintain standards. Someone needs to protect these institutions from being overrun. Each word is another nail in his professional coffin. Each syllable captured by the blinking camera above. A commotion in the hallway draws Harlan Voss's attention. The local police have arrived, waiting in the lobby as protocol requires. Harlan Voss stands, straightening his uniform. "Wait here," he instructs, gesturing to a young security officer to watch the door. "Don't let her leave." The junior officer nods nervously, clearly uncomfortable with the situation, but unwilling to challenge authority. "Officer Harlan Voss," a commanding voice calls from the doorway. "I believe you're about to meet the FBI director." Deputy Director Preston Lyle stands in the doorway, his 6'4" frame filling the space with authoritative presence. Behind him, 4 agents in impeccable suits form a human barrier between the security office and the growing crowd of onlookers in the lobby. Harlan Voss turns, irritation flashing across his features at the interruption. His expression shifts to relief when he spots the FBI credentials displayed on Preston Lyle's lapel. "Sir," Harlan Voss says, straightening his posture, "thank you for responding so quickly. I've detained a woman attempting to infiltrate your facility with falsified credentials." Preston Lyle says nothing, simply steps aside, creating space for Harlan Voss to continue digging his professional grave. She's been belligerent, uncooperative, and presented a counterfeit FBI identification card. Harlan Voss continues, warming to his narrative. "I've already contacted local police to process her arrest for impersonation of a federal officer." "And Officer Harlan Voss," Preston Lyle interrupts, his voice carrying the quiet authority of someone who never needs to raise it. "Have you ever met FBI Director Serena Hayes?" Harlan Voss's flow of words stops abruptly, his brain struggling to process the question's implications. "The director?" "No, Preston Lyle steps fully into the room and extends his hand toward Serena. "Director Hayes, on behalf of the Philadelphia field office, I deeply apologize for this unfortunate reception." The color drains from Harlan Voss's face as reality crashes through his carefully constructed narrative. His mouth opens, closes, opens again as Serena rises from her chair, accepting Preston Lyle's assistance with quiet dignity. "Deputy Director Preston Lyle," she acknowledges with a nod. "I see you received my signal." "Yes, Director, we've been monitoring." Preston Lyle turns to Harlan Voss, whose complexion has now taken on a grayish hue. "Officer Harlan Voss, you've just participated in an unannounced field inspection of security protocols and bias incident response." I was just following standard procedure," Harlan Voss stammers. "The director didn't identify herself properly. I had no way of knowing." "Is threatening to make someone disappear standard procedure, Officer Harlan Voss?" Preston Lyle asks, removing a tablet from his suit jacket. He taps the screen and Harlan Voss's voice fills the room. People who don't belong disappear all the time. No one would even look for someone like you. Harlan Voss's eyes dart frantically around the room, settling on the security camera he'd forgotten in his power play. The blinking light now seems to mock him with each pulse. Serena steps forward, her presence filling the small space despite her modest stature. When she speaks, her voice carries the weight of institutional authority and personal resolve. Officer Harlan Voss, in the past 90 minutes, you have committed 17 separate violations of federal security protocols, 11 violations of civil rights statutes, 4 instances of abuse of authority, and 3 documented acts of intimidation against fellow security personnel. She lists each offense with methodical precision, like a prosecutor delivering a closing argument. What you don't know, she continues, is that this field office has registered the highest number of discrimination complaints in the Bureau, complaints that mysteriously disappear from the system within days of filing. Her gaze is unwavering, unflinching. Your behavior today wasn't just witnessed by everyone in this room. It was the final piece of evidence in a 6-month investigation into systemic discrimination within federal security contractors. Harlan Voss's gaze darts to Blaine, who stands in the doorway with a mixture of vindication and disbelief etched across his features, to LaShonda, whose earlier attempts to intervene now register as acts of moral courage, to Langford Barrett and Preston Lyle, observing from a safe distance, their faces unreadable. "I was just doing my job," Harlan Voss whispers, the words hollow even to his own ears. "No," Serena corrects him with quiet certainty. "You were abusing your position to indulge personal prejudice, and you've been doing it for years." Preston Lyle gestures to 2 agents who step forward. "Officer Harlan Voss, please surrender your security credentials and access cards. You are being placed on administrative leave pending full investigation." As the badge is unpinned from his chest, the weight of consequences finally registers in Harlan Voss's eyes. The sudden vertiginous drop of a man who has just stepped off a cliff he didn't know was there. "This isn't just about you, Officer Harlan Voss," Serena says calmly. "This is about everyone who enabled you. And I have a list." The Philadelphia field office transforms into a hive of controlled chaos. FBI teams in crisp suits move through the security department with methodical precision, audit tablets in hand. They review access logs, security footage archives, and complaint records with the focused intensity of archaeologists uncovering a long-buried civilization. Harlan Voss sits alone in his apartment, tie loosened, shirt rumpled from sleepless hours. His phone vibrates against the coffee table, the 7th call from FedGuard executives in as many hours. He stares at the screen without reaching for it, watching it buzz itself into silence. The message that follows is succinct. Do not speak to anyone. Legal representation en route. Across town in a glass-walled conference room, FedGuard's crisis management team assembles with grim determination. Senior Vice President Harlan Voss's uncle paces the perimeter, while corporate attorneys spread documents across the polished table surface. "We'll terminate him immediately," the VP announces to the room. "Issue a statement distancing ourselves from his actions. Make it clear this was an isolated incident, not reflective of company policy." In the FBI's temporary command center, Serena reviews footage from Harlan Voss's 15-year employment history. The pattern emerges with unmistakable clarity. Hundreds of non-white visitors subjected to enhanced screening while their white counterparts pass through with perfunctory checks. The timestamps tell their own damning story. Average wait time for white visitors, 47 seconds. For minorities, 12.3 minutes. Director, an analyst calls, gesturing toward her screen. "We found something in the financial records." Serena leans over the display, scanning rapidly. Every discrimination complaint filed against Harlan Voss shows the same pattern. Initial documentation, preliminary investigation, then nothing. Cases closed without resolution. Paperwork vanished from the system. Cross-reference these dates, she instructs, indicating the complaint dismissals with FedGuard's payment records to federal officials. The analyst's fingers fly across the keyboard. Data points align with damning precision. 17 complaints disappeared after 17 payments to a consulting firm owned by the former security director's spouse. Harlan Voss's phone buzzes again. He answers this time. His uncle's voice immediate and sharp. Say nothing. Admit nothing. We're handling this. They have recordings, Harlan Voss replies, his voice hollow. Everything I said to her, everything. Silence stretches across the connection before his uncle responds. Then, you're on your own. And the line goes dead. Blaine sits across from an FBI interviewer, his retirement photo on his desk, visible in the background. A reminder of what he stands to lose and what he hopes to preserve. Yes, he confirms, voice steady despite his trembling hands. I witnessed Officer Harlan Voss apply different standards based on race consistently throughout our time working together. I reported it twice, once more recently. He pauses. The complaints disappeared. After the second one, my shift schedule was changed to night duty for 3 months. LaShonda provides names, dates, specific incidents, a catalog of abuses witnessed, but never formally reported. We all knew, they admit, shame evident in their downcast eyes, but he had protection from above. Anyone who spoke up found themselves reassigned or worse. The evidence mounts hour by hour. 17 current and former security officers come forward with similar accounts. Security logs reveal systematic patterns of discriminatory treatment. Internal emails between FedGuard executives discuss Harlan Voss's approach with knowing euphemisms and tacit approval. In the executive boardroom of FedGuard's headquarters, CEO Leora Sanders receives the preliminary findings with calculated composure. This is clearly one rogue employee, she says to the FBI representatives. We have strict anti-discrimination policies that Serena slides a thick file across the polished table surface. 342 complaints across 62 federal facilities, all involving your personnel, all mysteriously resolved without action. She opens the file, revealing emails, financial records, and internal memos bearing FedGuard letterhead. This isn't about one bad apple, Miss Sanders. Your company has systematically buried discrimination complaints, intimidated witnesses, and retaliated against those who spoke up. Leora Sanders' corporate mask slips momentarily before she recovers. These allegations are concerning. If true, we'll conduct an internal. This isn't an allegation, Serena interrupts. It's evidence of contract fraud, obstruction of justice, and civil rights violations. Your company is now under federal investigation. The news breaks. FBI uncovers systematic discrimination in federal security contractor, reads the headline. Harlan Voss's name appears in paragraph 3. His 15-year record of abuse summarized in clinical detail. His phone stops ringing. FedGuard's legal team no longer answers his calls. The union representative responds with a terse email. Given the overwhelming evidence, we cannot provide representation in this matter. As Harlan Voss watches the scandal unfold on his television, more stories emerge. Security officers at facilities across the country come forward with similar accounts. Former employees reveal pressure from management to scrutinize certain profiles more intensively than others. The public reaction is swift and unequivocal. Protests form outside FedGuard headquarters. Government oversight committees announce emergency hearings. 3 major federal agencies suspend their contracts pending investigation. Harlan Voss turns off the TV, the silence of his apartment pressing against him like a physical weight. The doorbell rings. An unexpected sound in his self-imposed isolation. Through the peephole, he sees two figures in dark suits, their posture unmistakably official. Federal agents stand on his doorstep, warrant in hand. The consequences of years of unchecked power abuse finally crystallizing into this moment of reckoning. As Harlan Voss opens the door, he realizes too late that his uncle has already struck a deal to save himself. The federal administrative hearing room hums with restrained energy. Morning light filters through high windows, illuminating dust motes that drift like suspended time across the polished wood panels. Harlan Voss sits alone at the respondent's table, his court-appointed union representative maintaining a careful 6 inches of separation between them, physical distance mirroring professional disavowal. Across the aisle, the government's table hosts 3 attorneys from the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division. Their preparations methodical and unhurried. They don't glance Harlan Voss's way. They don't need to. Their case rests in the 12 evidence binders stacked between them. Each page, a brick in the wall, being built around Harlan Voss's career. The side door opens. FedGuard's legal team enters, taking seats in the gallery rather than at Harlan Voss's table. Their message is unmistakable. He stands alone. All rise, the bailiff announces, as the 3-member panel enters. The administrative judge, Maur Inch, flanked by representatives from the Office of Personnel Management and the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, takes her seat at the elevated bench. In the matter of security clearance revocation and employment termination for Officer Harlan Voss, she begins, her voice betraying no emotion. This panel will hear evidence regarding allegations of civil rights violations, abuse of authority, and falsification of federal records. Harlan Voss's representative rises, his demeanor already telegraphing defeat. My client wishes to enter a statement of mitigating circumstances, Your Honor, while not disputing the recorded evidence. Officer Harlan Voss maintains that he was following established, if unofficial, protocols consistent with his training. And, Your Honor, the lead justice attorney interrupts, rising smoothly. Before the respondent attempts to distribute responsibility, we would like to present evidence that his actions were not only deliberate, but represented a pattern spanning 15 years of employment. The first witness called is Blaine, Harlan Voss's former partner. He avoids eye contact as he takes the stand. His posture that of a man carrying a heavy burden he's eager to set down. Officer Blaine, the attorney, begins. In your 14 years working alongside the respondent, did you observe differential treatment of visitors based on race or ethnicity? Blaine clears his throat. Yes, consistently. And what happened when you reported these observations? The first time I was told to learn how real security works. The second time my shift was changed to nights for 3 months. After that he pauses, shame evident in his downcast eyes. I stopped reporting it. Throughout the morning, the testimony builds. LaShonda describing Harlan Voss's intimidation tactics. Langford Barrett recounting how security complaints mysteriously vanished after being forwarded to FedGuard management. A parade of former visitors sharing similar experiences of humiliation and discrimination at Harlan Voss's checkpoint. After lunch recess, the panel views the compiled video evidence, a devastating montage spanning years, showing Harlan Voss's systematic pattern of differential treatment. The timestamps tell their own damning story. White visitors processed in under a minute. Minorities detained for extended random screenings. When Harlan Voss finally takes the stand, desperation has replaced his former arrogance. His eyes dart around the room, searching for a sympathetic face and finding none. I was just being thorough, he insists, voice cracking under pressure. Security requires judgment calls. Some profiles require additional scrutiny based on statistical risk factors. What specific risk factors led you to detain Director Hayes? The attorney asks. Harlan Voss hesitates, the trap evident but unavoidable. She didn't look like she belonged there. Didn't look like she belonged? The attorney repeats, letting the words hang in the air. And what exactly does someone who belongs in a federal building look like? Officer Harlan Voss. The question remains unanswered as the attorney plays the recording of Harlan Voss's threats to make Serena disappear. The room falls silent, the naked prejudice in his voice echoing off wood-paneled walls. In his closing statement, Harlan Voss abandons his prepared remarks, desperation fracturing his composure. Everyone does it, he blurts out. I'm just the one who got caught. There's an understanding about who gets extra scrutiny. It comes from the top down. The panel deliberates before returning their unanimous decision. Termination effective immediately. Security clearance permanently revoked. Pension rights forfeited. Referral to the U.S. Attorney's Office for criminal charges of civil rights violations, threatening a federal officer, and falsification of official records. As Harlan Voss exits the hearing room, a process server waits in the hallway with civil suit papers. Outside, he discovers his car has been repossessed overnight. The first domino in the financial collapse that follows termination. His phone rings. The display shows unknown caller. Uncle Robert, he answers hopefully. This is FedGuard Legal. A cold voice responds. We're calling to inform you that your company-provided health insurance terminated at midnight. Any statements you make regarding company policies will constitute a violation of your non-disclosure agreement. The line goes dead before he can respond. As Harlan Voss reaches his empty parking space, a news crew spots him, cameras turning toward his face like predators scenting blood. 6 months later, the Philadelphia FBI field office security checkpoint gleams under new lighting. Gone are the intimidating dark corners and isolated screening rooms. In their place stands an open-concept design with transparent privacy screens and clearly posted procedures in multiple languages. LaShonda, now wearing the insignia of compliance officer, conducts a training session for newly hired security personnel. The touchstone of our approach is consistency, they explain, gesturing to the flowchart displayed on the wall monitor. Every visitor receives identical screening steps regardless of appearance, accent, or attire. The trainees, a visibly diverse group, take notes. As LaShonda continues, our metrics are now publicly displayed. Average wait times, secondary screening percentages, complaint resolution rates, all updated in real time and reviewed daily. Across the building, Blaine leads an internal affairs briefing. His former tension replaced with purposeful authority. The new reporting system bypasses contractor management entirely, he explains to the field office security liaison. Complaints go simultaneously to FBI oversight and an independent civil rights monitoring group. A split screen shows the parallel transformation occurring nationwide. Security checkpoints renovated for transparency. Guards receiving implicit bias training. Visitors encountering clearly posted rights information at every entrance. In the FedGuard headquarters, the logo has been changed. The company rebranded as Unified Security Solutions following the settlement that mandated new ownership and management. Federal monitors occupy offices on the executive floor, reviewing every policy change, every hiring decision, every complaint resolution. Visitors now move through security without incident, without trauma, without being made to feel less than. On Capitol Hill, Serena testifies before the House Oversight Committee, her composed demeanor a counterpoint to the charged atmosphere. Director Hayes, the committee chair, asks, "Was your experience at the Philadelphia field office truly a random inspection, Or were you specifically investigating Officer Harlan Voss? Neither, Congressman, Serena responds. My visit was part of a coordinated effort following patterns we identified in dismissed complaints. After the seventh minority complainant reported being threatened with disappearance at that checkpoint, we recognized that documenting the behavior would require experiencing it firsthand. The hearing reveals that Harlan Voss was merely the most visible symptom of a systemic disease. Statistics scroll across the committee room displays. 74% of minority visitors subjected to enhanced screening compared to 12% of white visitors. Average detention time 3 times longer for non-white individuals. Complaint dismissal rates showing unmistakable racial disparities. The resulting legislation passes with rare bipartisan support. The Federal Facility Equal Access Act establishes independent oversight of security contractors, mandates body cameras for all checkpoint personnel, creates a publicly accessible complaint tracking system, and requires annual certification in non-discriminatory practices. News montages show security companies nationwide implementing proactive reforms, corporate executives suddenly discovering the urgent importance of diversity initiatives and bias training. The statistics tell their own story of grudging improvement. Discrimination complaints down 63% across federal facilities. Processing time disparities reduced by 78%. Visitors' satisfaction ratings rising steadily across demographic groups. Meanwhile, Harlan Voss applies for a minimum wage security position at a suburban shopping mall. The hiring manager's expression shifts as she reviews his application, recognition dawning in her eyes. Harlan Voss, aren't you that guy from the news? The one who threatened the FBI director? He leaves without a response. Another rejection added to the growing pile. As former security corporations scramble to rebrand, Serena quietly prepares her next undercover operation targeting federal housing discrimination. 1 year later, Serena steps through the revolving doors of the Philadelphia FBI field office. The transformation is immediately apparent, not just in the physical space, with its redesigned security area and transparent protocols, but in the atmosphere itself. Gone is the tension that once hummed beneath the surface like faulty wiring. In its place rests a steady current of professional focus. The security team that greets her reflects the full spectrum of American diversity. Officer Mendoza processes her credentials with efficient courtesy, maintaining the same procedural rhythm he uses for every visitor. The standardized greeting, the consistent eye contact, the respectful tone, all applied without variation, without exception. "Good morning, Director Hayes," he says, returning her identification. "You're expected in conference room 3. Where Harlan Voss's desk once dominated the entrance, an information kiosk now stands, staffed by a rotating team of security personnel providing visitor guidance. The prominently displayed digital dashboard shows real-time metrics. Average wait time currently, 142. Secondary screening rate 7%, active complaints 0, resolved issues 3. LaShonda meets her at the elevator, their former nervousness replaced with quiet confidence. "Director, we've prepared the quarterly compliance report as requested." In the conference room, Blaine and Langford Barrett await with Preston Lyle, who now serves as ethics liaison between security contractors and federal oversight. The conversation flows easily as they share implementation challenges and unexpected successes. The most surprising outcome, Langford Barrett notes, has been the improvement in security effectiveness. When officers stopped focusing on profile-based screening and started applying consistent protocols, they actually identified more genuine security issues. Blaine nods in agreement. Last month, a white businessman in an expensive suit set off 6 red flags in our behavioral screening that would have been overlooked in the old system. Turned out he was attempting industrial espionage. Preston Lyle adds, "The standardized approach has spread beyond this building. I'm now training security officers nationwide on our protocols." The scene shifts to a dimly lit warehouse across town. Harlan Voss, now considerably thinner, patrols empty corridors as a night watchman, the only employment his tarnished record could secure. He passes a break room where a small television broadcasts an interview with the FBI director discussing the sweeping reforms implemented in federal security. The Harlan Voss incident, the anchor calls it, the capitalization audible in his tone, has become a watershed moment in federal civil rights enforcement. Harlan Voss's face hardens as he watches his legacy take shape. Not as the protector of institutions he imagined himself to be, but as the cautionary example, the case study in abuse of power that officers in training now examine. He continues his rounds, passing his reflection in darkened windows, a ghost drifting through spaces where he no longer matters. Back at the field office, Serena concludes her visit with a walk through the main lobby. She observes a young black woman entering the building, receiving the same professional treatment as the white executive who follows her. No extra scrutiny, no power plays, no humiliation disguised as procedure. The woman moves through security without incident, without trauma, without being made to feel less than, exactly as it should be. Outside another federal building in another city, Serena approaches security without her credentials displayed. The officer, a young black woman, greets her with the same standardized welcome used for all visitors. "ID and purpose of visit, please," she requests professionally. Serena presents her identification, which the officer processes with efficient courtesy, unaware she's interacting with the FBI director. Just another visitor receiving equal treatment under standardized protocols. Serena smiles as she passes through, noting how things should have always been. True power isn't about making others disappear. It's about ensuring everyone is finally seen. Don't miss another moment of justice served. Hit that subscribe button and join the Beat Stories community where we expose power abusers and celebrate those who stand their ground. Like, comment, and share if you believe in accountability at every level. Turn on notifications so you never miss our weekly drops of satisfying justice stories that prove karma is real. And sometimes she wears a badge. Beat Stories, because some beats are best served with justice.